Speaking of villages and cities slated for destruction, who has a 100-word summary of what trouble you got into last session?
I
We
punched a mind flayer.
Y'all did punch my mind flayer.
you punched the mind flayer so good, and then like the cleric came behind, and we teleported the cleric on top
We
of the thing, and
we met the most inept mind flayer that exists. He didn't get to do anything.
he did get to do some things. We just passed all the saves.
Now,
He did a mega laser.
you're playing a dangerous game there. When you
Uh-oh.
have an easy victory in one of my campaigns, it behooves you to not frame it as the villain was inept. Because you have to remember that
No.
I'm the villain, and I'm designing the next encounter. So
Hardest villain ever.
maybe we'll say that the group of adventurers played very cleverly and solved the dungeon correctly to the point where they had many advantages in the fight that otherwise they wouldn't have had. And it wasn't that the villain was inept.
Listen, with our rolls, you can throw a kobold at us next time we're all going to die.
Yeah, no, this
We
kobold,
used up
yeah,
all
the
of
next
our-
kobold
we're
you throw at us is gonna just job us like so hard. It's gonna be like that rabbit guy from the Witchlight.
God, I hate that guy.
I love that encounter so much. Like, there's no way a group of like 4 level 2 characters could ever beat that motherfucker.
So yes, you've chosen to repair the mirror in your manor, which continues to hold Curzo the Alhoun, this very dangerous and very powerful mind flayer wizard who Evelyn apparently had issue with. Remains imprisoned in your house.
How could that go wrong?
I mean, like, one of the things that like Genie is going to do is she's going to get like a very nice metal plaque, and she's going to engrave in Darkanese, "In this mirror rests Kierzo the Alhoun. Do not move the mirrors. If they crack," like, she's going to get like the instructions on how to repair it and put it on the thing, and like just rivet this metal plate to the wall.
Okay.
And then I guess we're going to seal this room up, right?
It's going to have to be more than one metal plate. Like, you're going to have a whole metal plate devoted to, like, here's how to brain travel through the mind sewer.
Like, us going in there wasn't like related to like repairing it. I thought they were fixing it.
No, but the reason it was cracking in the first place was because he was growing in strength and was trying to escape.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, whatever. Like, I'll put as many metal plates up in the wall as I can. Like, stand the test of time.
One morning, Dimitri, your village reeve, pays a call to the manor house. This is not uncommon. There are often issues in the village that need to be addressed, a docket for the day or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Today's item is Dimitri is wondering, or many of the villagers are wondering about the appointments for taxation for the outlying villages in the duchy.
What?
Dimitri has come to the manor to ask about whether or not somebody is going to be appointed to levying taxes on the outlying villages in the duchy.
I don't think we have any outlying villages.
Dimitri looks at you curiously for a moment. I beg your pardon?
I mean,
Did someone build an outlying village without telling me? Apparently this kind of thing happens.
Well, you got the Duke and the werewolves.
Have you forgotten? Your brother, Lugrin, was slated to visit the closest of the three, where the vineyard is located.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
There been construction happening out there?
Construction, I'm afraid I don't take your meaning. I understand, of course, that the lords and ladies have been very busy of late. But Lugrin is slated to liaise with the vintner in the village to get production up and running again after being dark for many years, but no construction is taking place, to my understanding.
And where did this vintner come from?
There has been no.
He's
There's
a
been no
vintner.
bit there.
And he thinks for a
year
moment.
that we didn't.
I don't know where he might have come from originally. I haven't met the man. I apologize. I haven't visited the village myself. I have my duties here to attend to.
Remind me how far away this village is?
So, over the course of conversation, Dimitri reveals that there are 3 outlying villages that apparently have been there all along. Little news back and forth through the winter, but by now you have word has been received that all 3 have survived the winter. The 3 villages are Alehirst, which is the vintner's village, about 3 days' ride southeast.
I love that name. That is an amazing name.
The second one is Berazar. Berazar is a tin mining outpost, about 6 days' ride out to the west. So that would be out in the forests beyond where you guys played around in the big tree. And the third village is on the shore of Lake Rudolph. Rudolph is the largest lake in the duchy, and it's a saltwater lake, which means it has very good fishing. So there's a fishing village. This is the furthest one away. It's way on the outskirts, way on your borders, about 9 days' ride to the southwest. These 3 villages have been there the whole time. All 3 of them are peopled. None of them are as populous as Silverbow, but now that we're deep into spring and everybody has survived the winter, there are questions about whether these villages will be taxed or what exactly their place is in the duchy's future going forward.
Jeannie's gonna ask him if she can see his records for because we asked him to keep records on census,
Sure.
right? And I'm gonna look at. Can I see the census records that you've been keeping up, please?
Oh, he doesn't have census records from these villages. Those are beyond his purview.
Oh, okay.
But
So is this just another instance of stuff happening that we don't remember happening, but apparently everyone acts like it's been happening all along?
So the official story, as far as you can tell, are that these are loosely populated villages that were not very economically productive. But now that the Duchess has been installed for about a year, that production is starting up again.
I mean, like we know, like I don't. The other 2 villages we haven't been to, and I didn't know they were. We didn't, as far as I know they were there. But we've actually been to the other one when it was ruins. The vineyard.
Yes,
one.
this Vintner's Village. When you first came here under Azalin's discretion, you passed through that village, and it was destroyed and abandoned and had been probably for years.
Sounds to me like we need to go on a tour of our kingdom.
Yeah, apparently a kingdom appeared magically.
Not a kingdom, a duchy.
Well, a duchy.
What happens when you go weekend in Alhoon, I guess?
I mean, this is all completely consistent with most of our population, so I'm not
Yeah,
really like
it's
this point.
very-
Ekon's
I mean,
not weirded out.
it's consistent with what we've been through.
That doesn't make it not weird.
It doesn't make it good though.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like, I am going to put this out there that, like, my big, like, if this keeps happening, at what point is it going to start affecting us?
So when you ask that, within the next day or so, you get what might be an answer to the question. Because Lugrin is dreading this journey. He agreed to do this months ago when he was in his cups, but it's work and he's not really into it. However, when you first commissioned him, he was supposed to go down, set the lands to right, do a survey of the area, find out whether it is there is viable great production. However, speaking to him now, he's acting as though the commission was to go down and liaise with the headman of the vintner. Whatever is affecting the memory of your villagers, it also seems to be affecting Lugrin at this point.
Oh, that's no. We got it. Ekon, do magical whatever you do. Something is affecting the mind of my brother.
What is, like, I think at that point, like, Jeannie would probably gather up everybody that came with us and see how many of them are affected. Is it just Lugrin?
Oh my goodness, I have to look at a list of.
I mean, I think that
what about
sounds more like
Trieste
Victor's area of expertise. Honestly, I mean, I can ask, but
Let's see. Denny's dead.
Yep.
Very, very dead.
I think the only people still with us are the Ambersons and Jayla Can't Hear, who we haven't heard from in a long time.
How's Donique doing, by the way?
There's been no change in her situation. Trieste had learned about this particular magical fungus that some of the people in the village believe might help with her situation, but so far you've been unable to identify this plant out in the wild. That's right, a fungus is a plant. I said it. I did it.
Does Ekon have greater restoration yet?
So,
yeah, but do you have a whole bunch of diamond powder?
Oh, we got a 10 line.
according to this list, the only... I thought Jayla had left.
I don't remember that happening. If she did, maybe she did, and I didn't hear about it.
It's possible. Because I haven't.
Yeah,
I
I think
haven't thought about her in many months.
I mean, we found out there was an ocean at some point, so she probably did leave, to be honest.
She went to be a pirate on this saltwater lake. For their part, Trieste, Abernathy, and Tenny do not seem to have started to be affected in this way. In Trieste and Abernathy's case, they're kind of on the same page as you guys. Once in a while, something happens that apparently had always been that way, and they just have to adjust to it, to this new reality. But they do recognize it as reality shifting around them. Tenny recognizes that it's happening, but it's like low on her list of priorities in terms of crazy, horrible things that have happened to her this year. Lugrin alone seems to be of the opinion that, yeah, there was a vintner's village, and you passed through it on your way here, and it had a dozen or 2 dozen people kind of scrabbling out their existence from the rocks. It looks like Lugrin alone is among the affected. Yeah, because everybody else had left. Chrisen had left. Pladen had left. I thought Jayla had. Well, Jayla has now, if we haven't established. She's not here anymore.
Okay.
Chrisen left with
He left when we first got here.
Like,
Yeah, he left. No, Kristen left by himself.
Oh,
I thought
Chrisen,
Chrisen
yes,
left
Plaid
with
left for
the-
Player.
Yeah,
With
he's out
Plaid.
spreading the dark version of Air's religion, and he's going to be the final boss.
He's probably been killed and eaten already.
Pladen and Lahir are over in zombie land.
right.
So what it sounds like, just because by way of summary, is each of these villages is having good trade and are being productive now that the duchy has been set to rights. And the question is, what is Evie's stance on taxation, and is somebody going to be appointed essentially as tax collector to hold these villages accountable? It's also kind of pointed out that technically none of the villages have sworn fealty at all, because you guys have never visited any of them.
Well,
Go visit some villages.
we apparently did visit one of them.
Well, okay. These are peasants, so I don't know that like taxing them is going to get us much, but taxing the trade income sounds like something we could do.
Well, yeah,
Well,
when I say taxation, I don't necessarily mean they owe you money, but they might owe you some percentage of their production, whether that be metal or fish or whatever.
And
What is-
can I make a request here?
Pardon?
Do you mind if I make a request?
What do you want to request?
I would prefer that each village, including Silverbow at this point, in addition to whatever taxes they're having, tithe enough food and supplies to have a full-time priest.
In each village?
They're days away. They can't come here for mass.
I don't think that's needs to be a priority right now when these villages are just like.
If you also
just scraping
need an
by.
administrator of anything in these villages, the priests would probably be the only people that could read and write.
I
They
mean,
would have basic
we have to
arithmetic
find-
skills to collect taxes.
I
We
think
can solve both problems with this way.
okay,
But
so
we're-
here's
we need to find somebody that can actually be a priest first, unless you want to clone yourself.
We only have that one guy who's a priest, and he's also a con artist. I'm not putting him in charge of anyone's money. Just absolutely not.
I think.
That's
what
all
we
Are you
should-
sure about that?
I think we should go look at the villages because, for all we know, they could have a fully functioning church with a priest already.
True.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what's in
Yep.
any of these villages, so it definitely sounds like we need to go take a look, and then we will assess the taxation situation. Darkwood is paying us 10% of his income, I believe.
Yes.
He probably doesn't have any income yet. He's building his stuff right now. He's punching trees, so he'll have some kind of industry going before long, I'm sure, but
Let's
feel like
I'm not
that's-
going to go shake him down yet.
Let's go on a tour of our kingdom. Let's take Luger into the vendor, and then we can stop at Darkwoods, and then we can stop at these other two mystery towns.
Well, we don't need to bother Darkwood right now. We already know what he's doing.
Well, by the time you make it out to these villages, Darkwood has already been there and taken them over, all three of them.
Well, that's
Sounds
good.
like
That's
him.
fine. He can have them.
No,
I would
I did not say that.
like to ask Abernathy if he has the time while we're gone to do interviews of anyone in the village who can read and write in addition to his census, just so I can get some idea of like how many skilled laborers we might actually have. Because now we're starting to run into the fact that we might need administrative bureaucracy.
Okay.
Well, Luger is going to run one of the villages, and I don't know what's going on with his brain right now, but he's one of us. He knows how to read and write. He probably knows how to handle money. He would probably drink it away if he was not supervised.
Well,
I
that's
feel
the,
like trusting Lugren is for that.
that's the
I
concern.
feel like
with
Lugren
Lugren.
needs an attendant.
The original commission was that he would be in charge of running this vineyard, but now it sounds like he understands the commission to be somebody else is running the vineyard. His job is going to be liaising between you and them, being the closest village and probably the wealthiest of the three.
Okay, well, we need to go there first then.
So, question: how long until my visitor is scheduled to be here?
End of spring.
I don't know what okay, I'm just assuming that's some nebulous amount of time.
It's some nebulous time in the future that's not going to have a bearing on this session.
Right. Okay. I was just making sure. Like, I don't want to
Speaking of-
leave.
Speaking of nebulous times that aren't going to be affected by anything, what about Edmont's Giggle Dungeon time?
I'll leave that up to you.
I have a thought on that too.
Like you could,
This is
if your goal is to visit each of these three villages in turn, like it would be trivial to schedule the travel so as not to overlap with Edmont's special time of the month.
Yeah.
Hey, Ekon, can you cast the Gias spell? Is that a spell you have access to?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I do.
All right. I think from now on we need to have Edmont under one of those at all times because that's actually a really effective spell for controlling a werewolf.
Wow.
That seems like it goes tremendously against several of the tenets of air.
Um,
I mean, not when he's a
Unless we
werewolf.
classify Edmont as a unsaintly creature with no rights who needs to be destroyed.
I mean,
Like,
that's
you gotta
not
choose
weird.
one of those two, buddy. He's either a sentient creature with, a sentient human with all rights and responsibilities therein, or he's an unsaintly creature who I have a responsibility to destroy, and I have my opinion on that.
So,
you
Edmont,
can.
are you-
With all due respect, I would appreciate that you address me directly rather than just talking as though I'm not even here.
Well, were
I
you
think
there for that?
putting Gios on someone where there hasn't been like a lawful determined like punishment, if they haven't committed a crime or something, is completely against the tenets of air.
Okay, so here's my argument. That spell, you can use that spell to compel him to remain in his cell during the full moon. He would be unable to ever harm you, even in werewolf form, because the magic of the spell prevents that.
Easy, we're not using that spell on your brother.
Excuse me.
Or her cousin.
So, this is going to be important. So, when Evie floats this idea, whenever these kind of conversations happen, my default assumption is that the 6 of you are present. The 5 players plus Orson. Is that the case when Evie floats this? Or is this like she pulled Ekon aside one day after church to have a private conversation?
I feel like this would happen over the dinner table.
No,
Yeah,
I mean,
but it's
this-
Evie's decision.
Yeah.
I think she would talk to Ekon about it first and gauge his reaction.
Okay, well,
Yeah, his reaction is that is against the tenets of air unless we declare him an unsightly creature beyond redemption.
Okay, I don't care what the tenets of air say. I'm the Duchess, and we have a werewolf who has to be controlled.
So, Your Grace, there is some dispute between ecclesiastical and standard law. However, in this case, under magical compulsion, the ecclesiastical law holds out. I can quote several cases where that has come up in a court.
Whose court?
The high courts of both air and our homeland.
We are not in our homeland.
Yes, but I am still holding out. I mean, if you want to rewrite the laws in your own image, I don't want to see you be my guest because I'm definitely going to stop you from doing that. But
so this is a conversation that Evie and Ekon have privately, yes?
Yes.
sounds like it, yeah. No, Ekon is way too lawful to ever agree to do that without, like, basically to ever agree to do that is completely against what he believes.
A spell to prevent a werewolf from killing everyone?
Yes,
That's all I would be asking you to do.
that's not the way Ekon sees it. Ekon sees it as removing the free will of one of air's sentient and completely like divine. He is a sentient creature with all rights and responsibilities therein in the eyes of air. Ekon is an instrument of air. He will not place the spell on someone under that circumstance.
90% of the time he is a sentient being. 10% of the time he is a monster. I'm trying to not ever put you in a situation where you would have to destroy your brother, and this spell is a way around that.
I'm pretty sure I could knock him out if I had to. I've got some tools for that. Also, we have the dungeon. I've spent a lot of resources in the dungeon. The dungeon is already a little bit, like, over the line, in my opinion, but I let us do it because it was mostly his idea. He has willingly done that. And I will point out, he has willingly done that. Have you asked him if he will willingly take this spell?
I will ask him if he will willingly take this spell, and if he says he will, would you do it?
If you allow me to counsel him first, yes.
All
and
right,
he still wants to after my recommendations.
Let's talk to him about it and see if he's willing to do this as an additional precaution.
Sure.
Because I'm not saying you are enslaving him. I'm saying you are empowered to keep him under control during a very particular point of time where he would become dangerous.
So at
The
this
spell
point,
lasts for a full month and I can't dispel it.
You can remove it at any time you want. You can drop it whenever you want.
so at this point, do you guys bring up the issue at the dinner table, or is this where you
Well,
bring
now we
Edmont
think
into the room?
I think we privately go to Edmont. I'm not going to bring other people into this.
Okay.
Like, I don't need Victor sniping at me.
So the two of you have Edmont. Hey, Edmont, we need to talk to you about something important.
Jump cut.
Yeah. Like, just no holds barred. Would he be willing to submit to this?
Do you explain the details and the particulars of the spell in question?
Well, that's Ekon's job.
Okay.
Like, you
let me
trust, I
look
know
at
you
the
trust
spell.
Ekon. If it was anyone but Ekon, I would not propose this.
Do you need me to read the spell or?
No, I'm reading it in the player's handbook
Okay.
right now. Under these conditions, what would you be asking of me?
To remain in the dungeon and to not harm anyone for the 3 days of the month that you're in werewolf form.
Now, what? Because I do love to stir the pot. When you call Edmont in and put this to him, is this being made very clear that this is Evie's idea, or are you coming at it like
Yes.
the two of? Okay.
Ekon will only fill in the details of the spell before he gets his initial reaction.
Edmont was,
He is as
very
stone-faced
not
as
happy about
possible
the
on that.
idea. Edmont
Which,
was very
with,
not happy with the idea.
Let me see here. Hold on, let me make sure I'm right on this. With his deception of -2, Ekon is as stone-faced as possible.
So yeah, so Edmont's not into being magically coerced.
Correct.
Yeah, no, I can't. No.
Would you rather wake up and discover you had killed someone?
No, but as it has gone on so far, we have managed to keep things under control.
So far,
What has prompted you increasing the dangers here?
we have new resources available. This spell.
And you are willing to sacrifice my own agency? for
I'm
this?
not taking away your agency, except during the times where your agency has already been compromised. The spell doesn't make you do anything that Ekon doesn't tell you to do.
Again, not saying anything, -2 to bluff to not show his opinion.
So Ekon and Edmont are not convinced, and Ekon's not willing to do it anyway unless Edmont's convinced. Do I have that?
That sounds accurate. I would try and talk him out of it if he did, if she did convince him. Like,
Okay.
again, I think this is completely against several of the tenets of error.
Yeah, no, this.
You're not wrong.
Cousin. This is a step too far.
All right, let me put it this way. Who's the Duchess?
And you are?
Ekon, cast the spell.
God just laughs. Again, ecclesiastical law clearly has precedence in this case.
I don't give a shit what ecclesiastical law says. I am the Duchess!
So I need Jeannie and Victor, and also Orson, to roll me a perception check, please.
Well, then you are more than welcome to take this up with my superior. I can even issue the sending myself if you would like.
You said perception? That's a
Perception.
3, a 4.
A 4?
I don't hear
I'm gonna
nothing.
get psychic dice on this. Hold on.
What did Orson get?
Oh,
It's a 19 for Victor.
he probably didn't pass. He got like a 6 on die, and then that'd be like a...
So Jeannie's working down in her workshop, covered in grease, and Orson's over at the brothel.
Yeah.
Victor, you can hear Evie shouting from her room in the manor. As far as you know, there's no reason for her to be yelling at anybody. You don't have any awareness that any part of this conversation has taken place.
Victor is going to go sneak up and try to eavesdrop on the conversation.
Victor's like, who's she yelling at? I'm out here.
So
I
Victor's
will-
staying outside of the door for the rest of the
Yeah,
conversation.
Yeah, he's going to try and eavesdrop for the moment.
I
until
will
he finds out what's
dictate
going
a
on.
sending to Platten in your words written down if you like tomorrow morning, but I will not cast the spell, and quite frankly, you don't have the authority to overrule me on that.
Yes, I do. I'm the Duchess. My word is law. You said so yourself.
At that point, Victor
Your world
will
is law in the
go-
secular realm.
So the door cracks open,
This-
and Victor
This
pokes
is a
his head in.
secular matter.
No, once you start asking air to invoke miracles for your will, it becomes ecclesiastical. That's really well established. I can quote a dozen cases that say that.
What the hell are you two arguing about in here? Victor throws
The particularities of ecclesiastical and secular law and the application of magical punishments.
punishments. Why? Victor looks at Edmund. What did Edmund do?
This isn't a punishment. It's a precaution.
I exist.
What Edmund? What's going on?
As far as the Aetherine Church and I am concerned, this would be a punishment and would only be suitable as such.
The Aetherine Church does not exist here.
The Aetherine Church is me, right now.
Would we build an Aetherine church right down the street, Evie? What the hell's got into you?
So what's Victor's goal? Are you trying to diffuse the situation, or are you trying to throw gas on the fire?
Well, Victor being Victor, his intention is to defuse the situation, but the reality is there's probably going to be a lot of gasoline coming out.
Okay. So
Right
Evie,
now, Victor's just trying to figure out what's going on.
what do you do when Ekon refuses to cast the spell?
This is the problem I run into, is if all 5 party members are against me, there isn't much I can do.
That's true. So what's your next course of action? Because it doesn't look like...
Again, I will, if you wish to take this up with my superior, as is your right as a follower of the faith in the Aetherine, you can dictate a letter and you can hear me recite it through the sending. There will be no hidden messages or anything. You can get Platin's opinion on this. He is still my superior.
Victor is going to establish a telepathic connection to Eugenia and tell her to get the hell up here and deal with her sister now.
So yeah, Jeannie,
Oh,
you
hell.
receive a brainwave from Victor.
A brainwave.
I'm calling it a brainwave now.
All right, a brainogram. I guess she'll tell. She'll put down her work and just go, and then she'll stick her head. Like, I'm assuming at this point, like, Victor's standing in the room, so Jeannie's gonna poke her head in and says, "What? What do you want, Victor?"
So yeah, when you look in the room, Ekon and Evie are embroiled in this argument. Edmont is sitting in his chair, just looking very upset. And Victor is just kind of glancing back and forth nervously. It looks like we have lost control of the situation.
Victor's
All right.
going to try and comfort Edmont.
Jeannie is going to stick her fingers in her mouth and let out a very loud whistle.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
To call a timeout.
I think if anyone's able to do that, it would definitely be her. I can't do it.
And timeout. What's going on?
We explain the situation to Jeannie. What's her take?
Your darling sister wants to command my brother, my own flesh and blood, to rob me of my agency.
What? Evie, when did we start slavery in this village?
So why? Okay, all right. You don't want to do this. Fine. Like, Jeannie was herself. Why am I the voice of reason here? Oh my god. Why are you are you against it just because Edmont, are you against it just because Evie put forth the idea?
Jeannie, we're not making Edmont a slave.
That's not what I'm trying to do.
Like I'm assuming like everybody knows the details of the spell.
So let's actually go over that real quick. Just
Yeah, because like I know what Geese
got mine.
does. It's like 30 days, and then like the caster can end it at any time.
Yeah, you take damage if you violate the action.
have we cast this spell in a previous campaign?
I don't think we ever have. Maybe an NPC might have cast it once, maybe on Nodal.
That sounds
Probably on Nodal.
accurate.
Yeah.
If
So
anyone
it's a
of
wisdom
the-
saving
if-
throw, or the creature is magically compelled to either perform a service or refrain from some course of action. If it acts counter to that, it starts taking psychic damage. But it can't take that damage more than once each day.
So the question I have, Evie, is this because it uses pain to do this, right? And is that going to be a deterrent for the, like, I get what you're going for here. You're going for
It gives Ekon the power to issue commands.
But the
Victor-
commands, just to make sure everybody understands what the spell does, it doesn't force Edmont to do
right.
the action,
Yeah.
nor does it force him to refrain from the... He's still allowed to do it. If he does, he takes psychic damage once per
Right.
day.
Victor's argument is not only is it a violation of Edmund's free will, but it's also just not an effective spell for what you want it to do.
Yeah.
So it
I think-
it definitely would fall under the purview of punishment in the Etherine Church where you've grown up. Evie's argument, from my understand, is we can't necessarily follow all of those rules because now we're in this new place that's a lot more hostile.
And Ekon's argument is the path to hell is paved with good intention.
So am I misunderstanding how this spell works? Because I thought that the person who had cast the spell can use the command spell basically at will on this person. That seemed to be what the description of the spell implied.
I don't think
No,
so.
you choose the command when you cast it, and all it does is brain snap you once a day if the
Right.
target violates it.
So, for example, if Ekon did cast House on Edmont, he'd put the command while you're transformed into a werewolf, you're not allowed to attack humans. Right? That would be the command. That would be like the rules of the Gias, and then like if he did that, he would make a wisdom saving roll. If he tried to attack a human, he'd make a wisdom saving roll.
No,
Well, really,
the wisdom save happens when you first cast the spell. If you're under the spell's effects, the
okay.
damage is automatic.
But it's okay if Evie doesn't understand it because Evie can't cast a spell to begin with. The same way Victor doesn't really know what it does, but it sounds really bad.
All right, so I'm just going to explain. The site that I'm looking at has you can issue any command, and when it has command highlighted, and it leads to the command spell.
Well, I'm looking at the player's handbook.
Yeah, no, it doesn't do that. That's just that that you're probably
Just a
looking
weird
at
auto
roll 20.
highlight.
Yeah, they automatically highlight.
This is the problem with spells no longer being placed in italics.
Okay, so that spell does not work the way that I thought it does.
No, to just make them mad.
Okay, then
Yeah.
that's not as an effective countermeasure as I thought it was going to be. So if you explain to Evie that spell doesn't work the way that
I don't think Ekon's going to explain that. I think Ekon's going to continue to hold the he's the one in charge when it comes to this sort of thing.
So
I feel
Ekon's
like-
position, I want to get a very clear idea of where the power dynamics are. Ekon's position is Evie doesn't outrank me on this particular concept.
Yeah.
This is my call,
Ekon's
not
position
yours.
is magical punishment is the realm of the Aetherine Church. Ekon is the highest ranking member of the Aetherine Church in the village and the duchy. Therefore, Ekon's word is law as far as magical punishment goes.
I'm pretty sure Jeannie would explain to Evie like the like where she was mistaken. So like I could assume that you would understand where you were mistaken on the functionality of the spell.
Does that make
Victor's
it better?
standpoint
or
is it
worse?
doesn't matter if she's mistaken, she still wants to take away Edmund's free will.
I didn't hear what Brickroad tried to say.
Well, basically just what he asked. Like, does that make it better or worse? Because if Evie was right about how the spell works, it's completely suppressing Edmont's free will.
In a situation, I get the argument. Like it's it would only be active in a situation where he doesn't have his free will anyway.
God, I wish I were a player in this scene.
Like
Suddenly, Mrs.
Jeannie's,
Fitzbiggin shows up. Hey, I have an opinion.
I have an opinion. Yeah, like but Jeannie's like, but if he doesn't want to do it, you can't. Like, I don't think you should force him. But
Evie
yeah,
drops the matter, but she's clearly very irritated.
like
In
Jeannie,
fact, she's just irritated in general every time you see her these days.
Edmont.
Sure.
After this event, within the next day or two or so, Orson surreptitiously exchanges words for you. As far as you know, the only two people within earshot. In the halls of the manor or out in the village or something somewhere. He puts his hand on your shoulder. He tells you, when the time comes, I have your back. I'll back your play.
yikes.
Edmont frowns, but he doesn't say anything.
And he doesn't look like he enjoys telling you this, but if it comes to it, just wanted you to know that I'm your man. And he kind of leaves it at that.
Yeah, Edmont doesn't say anything more further on that to him.
Because Edmont had previously mentioned amongst the group that he was thinking about taking the duchy for himself. And being the leader here.
I'll go to Ekon again in private. Like if I think in our manor house the our bedrooms are adjacent to each other with an adjoining
Yeah, if you want a private
Oh,
conversation, I'm not too worried about the logistics of it. We can just specify that it's private. You can just pull Ekon aside at some point.
Ekon can cast silence.
Wouldn't that make it so you can't talk to each other?
No, it insulates an area from outside. Pretty sure you can cast the spell that way.
Didn't you guys have like hippie beads that did that in one campaign?
We did.
Yes,
we
and
did.
We use them all the time, and it annoyed
All
the
the
shit out of
time.
you every time.
Ridiculous.
I thought there was like a ritual that did that, but you're right. Yeah, it is just a sphere of can't talk. Huh.
Yeah, no, I will. I will call. I will get Edmont or Ekon privately and say, "This is getting more. This is getting worse, brother. I just had a conversation with Orson, and he's of a mind that I'm going to overthrow our cousin."
I mean, I don't think it has to come to that. She's just,
Nor-
you know.
I understand her desire to keep her family safe, but I increasingly it feels like I'm just another person to her sometimes.
She's under a lot of pressure, and she also has a lot of power that all went to her head.
And if she's not of a mind to be able to wield that power responsibly, is it our duty then to? And Edmont stops the sentence there.
I mean, she hasn't actually stepped out of line yet. I never really understood what she has against Ruby. Ruby was always pretty much kind and fair as far as I ever interacted with her.
She just asked you to cast a spell on me, your own flesh and blood, to rob me of my faculties.
Right, but once I informed her that was... Okay, it took a little bit more informing her that was, anathema to the tenants than it should have, but she still didn't push the issue after I explained it to her.
Do you think that's going to be the end of it?
Can I just say that I'm delighted that Destil has remembered that there are tenets to this religion?
Yeah. So
Is that why he's your favorite player?
does Ekon not remember that Ruby had us kidnap a person? Is that against the
And we
tenets?
treated her very well.
Yeah,
We got her out of a cult, gave her a pile of gold, and sent her to take a new light. So
Sure.
yes, he does remember that. He thinks Ruby is a very kind and just leader.
I mean, I guess that's one way to look at it.
I just wanted Ekon aware of of Orson's situation.
Yeah. I can also keep a slightly closer look on the. Yeah.
Well, if our cousin is demanding more security, I don't know what could be done for it.
The giggle dungeon, as I believe Jeannie has often called it, is completely secure at this point. The only thing I could even
The protections
Is that
in this
really
dungeon.
what she calls it?
It's only
That's what
accessible.
Jeannie calls it. You know Jeannie. Give me a month and I can make it secure against magical trespass.
This dungeon is only accessible via stone shape. Like there's not like an actual door in or out, and it's got magical light illuminating every crack, corner, and crevice.
And you can't like gaseous form your way in through anything because it's all been stone shaped. Yes.
Yeah, it's
And I can hallow it to prevent teleportation.
And
But
also,
it's expensive.
we've got very, very, very sturdy, neck, arm, and whatever brace. You're just literally nailed to the wall.
Once the word kind of gets out that the Duchess and her company are planning to pay a visit to the outlying villages, Tenny expresses interest in traveling with you.
Victor invites Tenny along.
And he should come along because we're
Yeah.
supposed to be training her in her first level of noble.
That's true. Yep.
Tenny, throughout the spring, what is the character's name? My apologies. I have opened the wrong note folder here. Oh no.
He lost it.
I lost it. It's gone. 18 of NPCs in the village just are gone now forever.
Oh no.
That's fine. We keep getting more.
Yeah,
Just keep showing
getting
up.
more.
Just keep showing up.
Showing up is fine. It's when they start vanishing that we got to start worrying.
No, that's Demetrius's family. There's Alanic, Ray, and Sedgwick.
Yep. Are they staying to work on repairing the mirror?
No, that's done. They've completed that task. They've taken their leave. Here we go.
Okay, they're
This
on
is
their
what we're
way.
looking for. The Organovas, the women running the Cerven, the brothel in town, which is doing a good trade. There was talk about Tenny taking lessons from the druidess, Beata.
Yes.
And it was decided against that, decided that she should instead just focus on her studies. Somewhere along the lines, however, the two had become acquainted and are spending time with each other. Beata is starting to rub off on her, you can tell. The most prominent way this has manifested is that as often as possible, Tenny will go barefoot through the village, through the forests. She always has new stories and observations out in the woods, and it becomes apparent that Beata is giving her some level of instruction, giving her little tasks out in the woods, and she's relishing this. The tasks that you've set to her are also getting done, her traditional education, but it's more and more trouble to convince her to bathe regularly, to keep her clothes clean and mended. And when she is inside, she's always wistfully looking out the windows.
Victor is supportive of Tinny's actions, but he does inform her that she should bathe on a regular basis.
Does Victor bathe on a regular basis?
He tries to.
You literally have a shower in your pocket.
It's true. There should be an Artificer device that just pumps soap into the front of a nozzle coming off of a decanter of endless water for that exact reason.
There probably is that in Eberron.
Oh my god, you're right. I hate Eberron so much.
It's their version of Power Wash Simulator. That's how they power wash things. They just stick a nozzle. They just stick a nozzle of soap, one of those little soap attachments with a little jar on the front.
So
and speak the command word.
We'll just go by a simple majority amongst the five of you. Tenny has expressed interest in going on this sojourn to the outlying villages now that you're in mid to late spring. So Victor is a yay.
Yeah, I don't mind.
I don't mind. I'm happy with the idea as well.
Yeah, I would have said she should come along anyway, because I'm pretty sure Ekon's the one showing her how to build a house relic.
Okay.
Is
So it'll be
Lugren coming?
the six of you. Well, Lugren is supposed to travel to this vintner's village anyway. This is something you commissioned him to do over the winter, and then he said, yeah, once the winter breaks, I'll go out and see to it. And he's supposed to do that next. So that depends on whether or not you're going to travel to that village first or not. If you do, Lugren will be traveling with you. If not, he'll be traveling separate from you.
Let's all go together. Why not? Let's make it kind of a family outing.
So the six of you, plus Tenny, plus Lugren and his small party of just peasant folk, drinkers, well-wishers that he enjoys from the town, who he says are going to be instrumental in setting up his enterprise, but he's probably just looking for somebody to drink with. Any last business in Silverbow before we... The first village, Ilhurst, is only about 3 days' ride away. This is the decrepit village that you traveled through on your way here originally. About a year ago. Okay.
There's gonna be a short Evie. I guess this isn't really productive. It's just a moment for Evie. One night, she is like probably out here in the gardens somewhere, and she is not like really drunk, but drunker than she normally allows herself to become. And this is probably very late at night when anyone else would already be asleep.
Sure.
And she's just out there walking around, and then she just kind of starts talking. She says, Ruby, everyone wants me to be you, but I don't know how. None of them listen to me. They don't respect me. I guess that's what I used to do to you, isn't it? Was it this hard for you when you were learning? Was it this lonely? I don't know what to do.
That was a very convincing Disney princess moment. I really enjoyed that.
And I guess Ekon can Edmont has done lore research. Is there a way for me to do research into the learnings of House Veritas and leadership?
Not from this point, because you don't have access to any of those sorts of materials. Ekon's right about one thing, just the entire, as far as Darkon is concerned, the entire history of your people and your church and your family is here now. What you have now is all you will ever have. And Lugren has already started to slip.
Evie is struggling. She doesn't know what to do.
So the next morning, Evie is hungover, and the company will be journeying out to the village of Alehirst. Oh, I need to.
Victor's gonna gossip with Orson on the way.
Okay. Well, actually, I think I can just remove the whole fog of war one at a time. I don't want to remove all three, though. Ah, good.